Can we all just take a moment and agree that this movie coming out now is a desperate plea from Disney to get us to care about Black Widow after a decade-long movie franchise in which she was consistently the least interesting of the main 6 characters on display? Okay, good. If we're all on the same page, then let's get to the video proper. Hey everyone, I'm RVRocks, and I was not looking forward to watching Black Widow. Everything that came out about this movie just seemed to rub me the wrong way in the pre-release hype. A prequel story for a dead character, a prequel story that introduces characters that should, in all logical thought, probably be around for some of the later stories that take place in that universe, and a prequel focusing on Black Widow of all characters, who is really not my favorite. She was super cool from Iron Man 2 until The Winter Soldier, but then they just kinda run her character into the ground in Age of Ultron, and in the rest of the movies, the most worthwhile thing she does up until Endgame is that thigh takedown move, which in my opinion is super unfortunate. Many people don't comment on this in the MCU circles, but pre-MCU Black Widow in the comics and games is actually such an interesting character. And parts of that character shine through in the earlier MCU movies, and especially in Endgame, which despite her death also featured a lot of great character moments for Natasha. So when Black Widow was finally hitting theaters, I was equal parts excited for some exploration of that character, but feeling a little miffed at Disney/Marvel for waiting this long. And then add in all the delays to the movie's release date so that Disney could still get all that sweet, sweet movie theater money before adding an artificial paywall to Disney Plus anyways. And while I'm here, can I just say that I'm like 90% sure that Disney only does this paywall thing to movies it either expects or wants to fail. Anyways, long story short, my incredibly pessimistic view of Michael Mouse and the mishandling of Widow and other MCU works had me skeptical at best for her first, and as far as we know, only standalone outing. So color me shocked when I say that I actually really enjoyed this movie. But unfortunately, I can't really get into it without spoiling it, so since the movie is still pretty fresh, spoilers, you have been warned, yada yada. Needless to say, I think Kate Shortland was dealt a really shitty hand when getting put in to direct an MCU movie due to the circumstances I mentioned earlier. So I am especially impressed that this movie was actually pretty good. I wasn't especially floored by anything in this movie, but the good stuff really worked. The whole Widow family dynamic that the entire time you think is being played is just work, but then they all actually really love and care for each other after the fact. The action sequences with the Taskmaster, the way they pulled off having a pretty realistic main villain who is just a creepy yet mostly incapable on his own older dude. But by far the standout for me is Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova. And boy am I excited that she is almost assuredly coming back for future MCU projects. But it's not all good. There was one thing nagging at me the entire time I was watching this movie, and no, it wasn't the fact that we were getting another woman-focused MCU movie, or the fact that Taskmaster wasn't really the Taskmaster that we know or love, or even this time-inaccurate Twilight Sparkle that my sister made sure to pause the movie so everyone knew about. It was this. Black Widow was always known for a few things, despite the medium she's put into. She's usually adept at whatever form of combat she needs to be for the current situation, usually really good at karate and shooting guns, all that jazz. Like, yeah, just about every MCU character knows how to do karate and how to handle a weapon, but more so than the others, Black Widow was kinda the human fighter. However, to keep her on the same tier as all the other people in the MCU, she also has several gadgets, most of which being like some electricity form of weapon. Her batons, her gauntlets, the Widow's Bite, these were her tools. When you saw them, you knew it was Black Widow. But her solo film kinda ruins my perception of all these fun spy gadgets. And that's because it's revealed that every single Widow who came out of the Red Room has similar gear. But the entire plot of this movie, as well as her entire shtick in the MCU as a whole, is destroying her past and how she's so ashamed of what she used to be. Black Widow wants so bad to disassociate with the Red Room while simultaneously using all of the Red Room gear, fighting styles, and outfit. So much so that Natasha showed up with her own electric batons, but then later when her mom is gearing up, you see that she has the exact same ones. If these weapons were altered in some form to serve as some kind of reminder, I would be way more forgiving. And maybe they're revealed to be in some extended MCU comic or something, but to an average viewer of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it just looks the exact same. It just frustrates me that this character has consistently drawn the short end of the stick in the characterization pool, and then when she finally gets her own solo outing, it adds this plot point that literally didn't add anything to the movie, it didn't need to exist, it just makes it worse. It's such an unnecessary addition to this universe, and all it does is make me think worse of the storytelling. Like, I know that Marvel characters always have some kind of bad guy version of the good guy, but like, all of the Widows are the exact same, using the exact same tools, even the reformed one? It very much confused me. Is this a nitpick? Maybe. Am I missing some kind of hidden lore detail that would explain all of this? Also maybe. But like, this really bugged me. Especially since it's such a superfluous detail in an otherwise completely inoffensive film. It may have been a problem, but honestly, it didn't really ruin my enjoyment of the film. It's Marvel, and as much as it may pain me to say, I'll probably always keep coming back. And if you always keep coming back to my channel, then why don't you subscribe to RVRocks and ring the bell, like this video, and comment your thoughts on Black Widow. I'm kind of expecting some criticism on this one because at the end of the day, I'm a fat white guy on the internet talking about my issues with a female-led superhero movie. But hey, what you gonna do? If you want to talk to me, send whatever you will in the comments or on my Twitter at RVRocks. But before you do any of that, I have been RVRocks, and thank you so much for watching. See ya!